Cindy Williams didn't tell her friends about her last illness. She cancelled shows for no reason. No one knew she was dead for 5 days after she died. Now, her sister has told shocking things about the last few months. She is telling everyone what really happened behind closed doors. You will be shocked by the truth about Cindy's medical care. Everyone in Hollywood knew something was wrong, but they had no idea how bad it was. It will break your heart to read them. Cindy Williams was born in Van, New York, Los Angeles, on August 22, 1947. Third Williams, her mother, worked long shifts as a waitress, and Francesca, her mother, worked as a cook. It was always hard to get money. Cindy's childhood was marked by moving and struggling. When her family came to Dallas, she was only 1 year old. After that, at 10, they went back to Los Angeles. Because of these changes, she had to start over all the time, which made her flexible. Another thing it taught her was how to quickly connect with people, which helped her in show business. She wasn't an only child. She was close with her younger sister Carolyn and her half-brother Jim, who was born from her mom's first marriage. Their living conditions were what some would call less than ideal. Cindy wore old clothes and learned early on how to get by with very little. The fact that she was funny and had blue eyes and brown hair helped her deal with her drunk father. His moods were all over the place, but his impersonations of Jackie Gleason and Milton Berle made her laugh. She will never forget those times. It felt safe to laugh. Church was her way out. She felt safe from the chaos at home at Sunday school. She was in small plays there and sometimes thought that Debbie Reynolds would walk in and see her. In the end, Cindy said that acting made her feel strong, even though her everyday life at home made her feel weak. She was in school plays and teachers loved how well she timed her lines and used her facial movements. People named Sally Field were in her class at Birmingham High School when she finished in 1965. Cindy wasn't just daydreaming anymore, she was getting ready. She went to Los Angeles City College after high school to study acting. It wasn't exciting. To make money, she worked as a waitress, often late shifts, and went on auditions during the day. 4 to 5 hours of sleep a night were all she needed. Before she got her first national ad, she kept a notebook where she wrote down the dates of her 157 failed auditions. It took a while for her big break to come. She lived in a tiny room in Hollywood for years, sometimes on just $20 a month. For $175 a month. She didn't give up, though. Things started to change in 1969. People noticed her in an ad for Foster Grant Shades. After that, she got more ads, TWWA Airlines, etc., that paid the bills and put her face on TV. She played small parts in TV shows like Room 222 and Love American Style, but they were never major roles. She was always next door or with a boyfriend. Still, each job was a step forward. Then the moment she'll never forget happened. Back in 1970, she had to dance with Gene Kelly for a comedy show called The Funny Side. As she spun, she stepped on his foot out of fear. He never showed it, and he finished the number like a pro. They did a show together again years later, and she stepped on his foot again. It was a mess, but she had that kind of charm that made people like her. He just laughed and said, "Some things never change, kid." She was able to join the Actors Studio West in 1971. It was an honor, but she had a lot going on and couldn't make it every time. More famous people began to notice her around this time. The great director George Cukor saw her in a small play in 1972 and put her in the movie Travels with My Aunt. Out of the blue, she was working with Maggie Smith and being coached by a man who had helped make stars like Katharine Hepburn. In 1973, she finally got her big break when she was chosen as Laurie Henderson in American Graffiti, a low-budget movie by George Lucas about teens in the 1960s. The movie was made for only $777,000. No one thought it would become a classic. Williams was Ron Howard's girlfriend, but she wasn't just play her for her. Afterward, she said she pulled right from her real sadness. Her boyfriend told her they should see other people after he broke up with her for someone else. That pain made her character feel real, and it came through in the story. In the dance scene with Howard, they smile for the crowd while fighting behind closed doors about how smoke gets in your eyes. This was one of the most powerful scenes in the movie. He even changed some parts of the story to make her more interesting. Williams had more experience than many of her co-stars. She had been in Travels with My Aunt, directed by the famous George Cukor, just 1 year before. The American Graffiti was not like that, though. In 1975, she was nominated for a BAFTA for Best Supporting Actor for that role. A huge award for someone who is so new to her job. She lost. That was sent to Ingrid Bergman. But being named with such a famous person meant a lot. Williams had put in a lot of work to get there. She went from working as a waitress to being in a movie that made a lot of people famous. Among them are future stars Ron Howard, Harrison Ford, and Richard Dreyfuss. The casting process was crazy. Over 100 unknown artists had tried out, and a young Mark Hamill was one of them. But it was director Fred Roos, who worked on The Godfather, who thought she could do it. That faith paid off. She became close with the American Graffiti group well before the movie came out. She felt a connection with Ron Howard right away, which led to a surprise. Howard played Richie Cunningham on Happy Days in 1975. He got her a special spot, and that one show changed her whole life. When they were together with Penny Marshall, they lit up the screen. When Gary Marshall saw it, he started Lever and Shirley right away. It became the most watched show in the US. But Penny and Cindy knew each other. They were close friends because they met years ago on another set. She also met Harrison Ford through American Graffiti. At the time, Ford was still working as a carpenter. He agreed to play the cool and rebellious Bob Fala because Fred Roos told him to. In Coppola's next big movie, they would meet again. That's right. When Francis Ford Coppola saw Williams in American Graffiti, he put her in the talk right away in 1974. It was around the same time that he was writing The Godfather saga. She was in the talk with Gene Hackman, John Cazale, Terry Garr, and a young Harrison Ford. Bob Duvall even had a part that wasn't given to him. The film won the top award at the Cannes Film Festival. It was about being paranoid and being watched. The movie made $4.8 million and was nominated for 3 Oscars, including Best Picture. It only cost $1.6 million to make. Williams went on to talk about how Lucas and Coppola are different. Lucas was short and quiet. After a take, he would often just say, "Great." Coppola, on the other hand, was always praising his performers and asking them what they thought. They both made her life different in their own ways. Still, something strange took place. After being in 3 highly acclaimed movies in a row, Travels with My Aunt, American Graffiti, and The Conversation, her career stopped going in the right direction. It didn't make sense. It would be too easy to spot her to go back to being a waitress, but she wasn't getting any big movie parts either. She began writing with Penny Marshall just to keep herself busy. It was Francis Ford Coppola's Zoetrope Productions that hired them. They were one of a few women writers who were hired for $30 a week. It wasn't a big deal at the time. They were just 2 people trying to get ahead in Hollywood. But a very important thing took place. They became very close creatively while they were working together. Without even realizing it, they learned how to build the chemistry that would later define their careers by trading ideas and jokes back and forth. Then, one phone call in late 1975 changed everything. While they were writing a story, Penny's brother Gary Marshall, who made Happy Days, called out of the blue. They were told to take a week off and play 2 girls going on a double date with Richie and Fonza. Williams remembers how funny it was when Gary called the characters, the girls who date the fleet. They didn't think much of her joke, "Hookers, this will be fun. I only had a small part in one show and got paid quickly." So they said, "Sure." On November 11, 1975, they walked into Paramount Studios without knowing they were about to make TV history. People fell in love with the two girls from Milwaukee as soon as the episode aired on January 27, 1976. Williams played Shirley, who was nice. Marshall played James Levern, who was tough. When Richie gets over a breakup, he asks Fonza for help. Fonza then sets up a double date for Levern and Shirley. That was it. People couldn't get enough of the simple setup. It began as a small joke but turned into a big moment. Afterward, even Penny said that they were meant to be the girls who put out. But that version was quickly fixed when ABC saw how good it could be. Behind closed doors, they were really getting along. Everyone took notice. No one could miss it, not the crew, not the live crowd, not the producers. In a funny mistake, you can even see Tom Bosley, who played Mr. Cunningham, was waiting in line behind a door, and the window gave a clear view of him. But Richie and Fonza were no longer the center of attention. It had moved. The scene was taken by these two women. Not long after that, they got another call, this time from Gary Marshall's office. People in charge at ABC had seen the show. They didn't want any more guest stars. Their wish was for a full show. Cindy and Penny had no idea what a spin-off was. They needed to know. They only knew that something big was going on. It wasn't just playing that brought them together. Williams said it seemed like he could see them. They didn't need to study much. They knew what each other would do. Williams always studied her lines right up until the last minute. Marshall was not like that at all. She did a great job even though she barely looked at the script. She was ready to go after a cigarette and a joke. It worked in some way. Their differences made them better as a team. She got cast in the next big movie just because she got along so well with Perry Marshall. Levern and Shirley first aired on TV on January 27, 1976. It blew up within months. By fall of that year, it had done something that couldn't be done. People liked it more than Happy Days. More than 60 million people watched it every week at its peak. People all over the world knew Cindy from the show American Graffiti. Her face was in every magazine, on every lunchbox, and in every sitting room. The starting chant, Schlemil, Schmezel, Hazen, Pfeffer Incorporated, was played on playgrounds all over the United States. She was making $30,000 per show by 1979. Back then, that was a lot of money for any star. She played more than one role. She made her. That scared laugh from Cindy to Shirley. She worked on it for weeks before the first episode was even shot. She gave Shirley a lot of thought. She even wrote in her own papers as the character. Toys like Boo Boo Kitty and prim and proper outfits for Shirley were ideas from Cindy. When paired with Levern's tomboy style, that made the whole show stand out. Women were going to hairdressers and asking for the Shirley haircut by 1979. Every week, Cindy got more than 1,500 letters from fans. Shirley wasn't just liked, people felt her. But there was a tough person behind the sweet smile and soft voice. Cindy did almost all of her own tricks. No jokes were meant by the physical comedy. She had to fight bottles on a conveyor belt for 37 takes in one show from 1978. She hurt her 3 ribs, but she kept going. In 1977, for the roller skating scenes, she did the splits on camera even though she had never been skating before. It got so cold that she got frostbite while shooting hours of skiing scenes. Before the show began, she trained with theater artists. Penny Marshall and she practiced a 3-minute exercise for more than 50 hours. People called her the female Buster Keaton because of the dangerous things she did. In January 1978, her work became very well known. Cindy was up for the Golden Globe for Best Actor in a Comedy. Well-known people like Carol Burnett and Jean Stapleton were up against her. It changed everything, even though she didn't win. Now, people in the business saw her as more than half of a pair. Studios gave her big deals with more money, lead parts, and creative freedom. All of them were turned down. She stayed true to Shirley and Levern. In new ways, her dedication paid off. At that time, her contract gave her more power than most actors did. But things began to go wrong. The show moved from Milwaukee to California in 1980. The jobs at the brewery were gone. The magic was the same. Her claim says that Gary Marshall tried to kick her out because she was pregnant. She said the studio had offered to make room for her. They said they'd include it in the story, keep her safe at work until October, and pay her $75,000 per show plus $37,500 for each repeat. But then they changed their minds. Cindy felt lied to. The deal fell through, and she was stuck in a position she couldn't escape. Her job or her child. It was in August 1982 that she sued Paramount for $20 million. Half as general losses and the other half as punishment. Her husband was there for her, but his presence made things tense on set. Penny Marshall afterward said she didn't get along with Hudson because he was difficult. Things quickly came to a head. In season 8, Cindy was only in 2 episodes. After that, Shirley was gone. She didn't say goodbye or send off anyone, she just left a note saying she moved with her husband. People were shocked. The name of the show stayed the same, Lever and Shirley. Fans were still confused and asked Penny Marshall, "Where's Cindy?" even though it was now just Levern. She thought the whole thing was a drag. It cost a lot for Cindy to leave one of the most popular TV shows. That year, she turned down a $165 million deal that didn't include reruns. The case was finally dropped without a fuss, but the damage had already been done. Her path in Hollywood became suddenly less clear. There were rumors. Some said she had asked for crazy things. Someone said it was because of a fight with Penny, but Cindy didn't say much because she was busy becoming a mother. It wasn't just a wedding when Cindy Williams and Bill Hudson got married on May 1, 1982. It was the start of a rough ride through feelings. Cindy moved in with Bill's family right away, even though Bill had just finished his divorce from Goldie Hawn. In an instant, she became the stepmother of Oliver, 6, and Kate Hudson, 3. The family wasn't perfect at that time, but both kids would go on to become big stars in Hollywood. Things were very tense. Bill had a hard time getting along with Oliver and Kate from the start, and things got worse over time. In 2015, Oliver made a big deal out of things by calling out his dad in a Father's Day post. Bill fought back and said Goldie was to blame for making the kids dislike him. Kurt Russell, who had been dating Goldie for a long time, became more of a father figure to Kate and Oliver than Bill ever was. It made 2 different families that didn't talk to each other much. In 2021, Kate said, "Time is short," when asked if she wanted to get back in touch with her half-siblings. When Cindy died in January 2023, many people hoped that her death would help end the years of family silence. Cindy and Bill were married for 18 years, until 2000. But Cindy had to make a choice that would change her life a long time before she got divorced. Early in 1982, she learned she was going to have their daughter Emily. Levern and Shirley was about to start its 8th season at the time, and Cindy was one of the biggest stars on TV. She thought she could work even though she was pregnant. Maybe she could hide behind furniture on set like actors do all the time. But the producers told her she had to keep shooting until she gave birth. Such a move today would lead to important judicial inquiries. Cindy said no. She looked at the contract and said, "I can't sign this." She quit after only 2 shows of the new season. She lost the part of Shirley Funny because of that choice, and a $20 million lawsuit followed. The case was later settled without a fuss. Later that year, Emily was born, and Cindy stopped being the center of attention. Not only did her leaving change her life, but it also changed how pregnant actors were treated in Hollywood. After many years, she noticed that sets began to include childcare and offer on-site babysitters. She didn't mean to be a leader, but she found herself in that role. In 1986, after 4 years, Cindy had her second child, William Zachary Hudson, who is also known as Zachary or Zach. That made his family even bigger and more complicated. His sister Emily and half-siblings Kate and Oliver were now in it. But Cindy made it clear. There would be no fame for her kids as they grew up. She raised them in a quiet, normal way, away from cameras that flash. Zachary stayed out of sight. In 2004, when Cindy and Emily were at her Hollywood Walk of Fame event, he was one of the few times he didn't stay away. He was about 18 years old. After that, things got even worse in 2006. Another child was born to Bill Hudson and his girlfriend Caroline Graham. Her name is Lania. That means Zachary and Emily had a new half-sibling. Cindy never lost sight of her goal to protect her kids' privacy. In 2021, Kate Hudson said in public that she wanted to spend more time with her other brothers, like Zachary and Emily. It was clear that Bill's broken relationships had not fully fixed the wounds they left behind. There was hope, though. Because Cindy's family grew, she had to change her job. She tried to keep playing after she left Laverne and Shirley, but it was hard. The Creature Wasn't Nice, also known as Naked Space or Spaceship, was her first big television project. It came out in 1983. It cost $2 million to make and featured Leslie Nielsen. Cindy even sang 2 songs in the movie, but it didn't do well at the box office and was re-edited several times before it finally found an audience. After that, she showed UFO, a low-budget sci-fi movie she had made in 1981. She played Arlene, a lonely grocery store worker who was crazy about aliens in the movie. The movie also had Fred Ward and Harry Dean Stanton in it. The movie was put on hold, though, and didn't come out until 1985. It finally came out on VHS in 1987. These parts were nothing like her days on primetime sitcoms, and it was clear that Cindy's fame was going away. She didn't fight the change, though. Instead, she leaned into it. Family was more important to her than fame. Following her breakup with Laverne and Shirley in 1982, Cindy Williams aimed for a strong return. Normal Life, a show she made in 1990, was her first big break. There were parts of Frank Zappa's Real Children, Dweezil and Moon Unit, in it. It was based on their strange childhood. Cindy played in Harlow, the mom. It seemed like a good idea. A mixed-race family trying to deal with the chaos of teenagers, but fans didn't get it. From March to July, all 13 episodes were shown on CBS, but the numbers kept going down. Directors kept switching jobs. It didn't work. It wasn't Cindy's big comeback after all, it was a quick flop. After that, she did something smart. Instead of looking for another show, she quickly found work in TV movies. She was in Menu for Murder and a Perry Mason movie just in 1990. She could show a different side in both art comedy and art theater. She showed off her range again in Earth Angel, a magical TV movie she was in 1991. Even though these weren't big projects, they kept her busy. They gave her time, which was more important. Emily, born in 1982, and Zachary, born in 1986, were Cindy's 2 children. She can act in TV movies without the stress of a 9-month show shoot. She wasn't flashy, but they kept her in the spotlight in Hollywood, which was just what she needed. Cindy made another big play for the big time in 1993. The show she was in, Getting By, was about 2 single moms in Chicago, one black and one white, who raised their kids together. It was on ABC's TGIF, and over 21 million people watched the first few minutes. But ABC ended it after the first season. It was picked up by NBC, but the move didn't help. Ratings dropped hard, and by the end, only 5.7 million people were still watching. There were also issues behind the scenes when Warner Brothers took over making the movie. Even though it only ran for 31 episodes, Getting By was her last lead part in a network sitcom. She was no longer a big star during prime time. As the new decade began, Cindy tried something very different. She started the crazy comedy show Strip Mall on Comedy Central in 2000. It was edgy, loud, and made fun of Hollywood. For someone who is known for making family-friendly TV, Cindy played a version of herself, which was a risky move. She was only in 6 episodes of the show, but it made a point. She was able to laugh at herself. She showed everyone that she wasn't stuck in the past when she was 53 years old. She was open to change and ready to take risks that most of her friends wouldn't. Fans still wanted a bit of the old magic, though. They got it in 2002. ABC showed Laverne and Shirley together again, which was the first time in almost 20 years that the original group was back together. 17.5 million people watched it. When Cindy and Penny Marshall hugged on camera, letting go of years of anger, it was the most moving part of the show. Cindy quit the first show when she got pregnant, which made her breakup with Penny very painful. But they got along during the get-together. Thoughts were given to group members who had died and bloopers were shown. It made everyone remember how much they loved those actors and characters. Then Cindy shocked everyone again in 2004. She played a grandmother who hid the abuse her son-in-law was doing on Law and Order, SVU. It was a scary, dark, and very real scene. More than 15 million people watched. Cindy's act was praised for being haunting and quiet. She had watched courtrooms and talked to experts just to get a sense of what someone would think if they were asked to protect a predator. Some people thought she should be nominated for an Emmy. In spite of being popular for 30 years, it was one of the most honest parts she had ever played. It showed that she was still growing as an actress. She went back to live theater across the United States from 2006 to 2014. She did shows in 42 places 267 times. In 2007, she was in Nonsense for more than a year and won an award for being the best actress in a traveling show. In 2009, she played a psychic in Blithe Spirit in Pasadena and never missed a show, 96 of them. She also went on tour with Eddie Mecca, who used to be her co-star in a movie called Lunch Hour. At age 64, she said, "Having TV made me famous, but going to the theater every night makes me feel alive." She was done trying to become famous. To find happiness, she ran. She wrote it all down in 2015. "Shirley, I just sold 48,000 copies in its first month and was the 7th best-selling book in the Los Angeles Times." She told him about the bad side of Hollywood. She talked about how studio execs pushed her to start filming just 6 weeks after giving birth. She also said that she turned down Airplane and Jaws 2 because they didn't work with her schedule. In the book, she wrote about her short relationship with Andy Kaufman and her long fight with depression after her show was cancelled. She met fans in 15 cities and even brought the original Schliessel sweater with her. "My memoirs wasn't just a recap of my career. It was how she set the record straight." With the small independent picture still waiting in the wings, which came out in 2018, she returned to film at the age of 71. She felt very strongly about the story. Cindy had also worked as a waitress while following her dreams. This time, she was in a movie with stars like Edna and Chita Rivera, which made younger people laugh and feel good. 5 awards were given to the movie. She was ready to work on set even when she was in her 70s, and she helped people who were just starting out. But one friendship stayed at the center of her story all these years. Hey, Penny Marshall. Pain and pride had broken up their friendship. When the studio told Cindy she had to quit, she felt alone. Penny felt alone when the show was over without her. For 15 years, they didn't talk. Then, Penny called in 1997, after her marriage finally ended. They screamed, said sorry, and began again. By 2012, they were back on Good Morning America together, laughing with their old co-stars. After that, they worked together for a special spot on Sam and Cat where they made fun of their past. It wasn't just getting back together, it was healing. Things changed for Cindy Williams in late 2022. She didn't want anyone to know that her health was getting worse. She kept her problems to herself, just like she had done all her life. She didn't say anything important. Forgive her, she didn't want it. She quietly stepped away from the attention instead. By November, people who knew her well saw that she was canceling shows for her one-woman show, Me, Myself, and Shirley. People all over the US liked the show, and they were excited to see her. Behind the scenes, though, Cindy was having a hard time. Few close friends and her kids were the only ones who knew how bad things were. She didn't want the news to talk about it. She didn't want her illness to get in the way of her work. Even while she was in therapy, she read plays and thought about what she wanted to do next. That's who she was, someone who loved their job and worked hard until the end. Her team kept her secrets safe. When media asked about her, they just said she was taking some time to rest and get better. They didn't talk about how sick she was so that she could spend her last days with her family, where it meant most. Things changed in early January 2023. Things got worse for her, but no one told the world. Cindy didn't want anyone to notice her. She just wanted to be alone. Cindy died in Los Angeles on January 25, 2023. 75. The news wasn't shared right away by her family. They had to wait 5 days. On January 30th, her children Zach and Emily Hudson told the world about it through Liza Crannies, who works as a family spokesperson. They wrote, "The death of our sweet and funny mother, Cindy Williams, has left us with unimaginable sadness that words can never fully express. It was an honor and a pleasure to know and love her. She was unique, beautiful, kind, funny, and had a spirit that sparkled that everyone loved." There was something deeply moving about the timing. Cindy died just 5 years after Penny Marshall, a longtime friend and co-star on Laverne and Shirley. Penny died in December 2018 at the age of 75 from complications from diabetes. Their jobs had always been linked, and now their deaths were too.